Welcome to the heart of Microsoft 365 Copilot. You're going to leave today knowing the latest to take full advantage of Microsoft 365 Copilot Business Chat. My name is Ned Friend. I've been working on Business Chat since before we launched Copilot over a year ago. So I'm here representing the team, feeling honored to do so, and very excited to celebrate how far we've come. I'll be joined by my colleague, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗀, who leads the product team for Copilot Pages, and Kevin Sherman, who's been with me on this journey since day one. I'll start with an overview of Business Chat as the place to start your work. It's near and dear to my heart, so I call it Biz Chat for short. Then I'll hand off to Maya to cover how you can turn your conversation with Biz Chat into durable AI artifacts we call Copilot Pages. Finally, Kevin will wrap up with Actions, a new way to get even more done automatically. So let's dive in. Copilot is like an entire suite to transform your organization. It starts with Biz Chat. Biz Chat makes work as easy as chatting with all the information in your organization and on the web. And then you layer on the familiar apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams to use AI in the flow of your work. And then you can use Copilot Studio to build agents for Copilot that automate processes for measurable business outcomes. And finally, Copilot includes some unique tools like Dashboard and Viva to drive your AI adoption and measure how it's transforming your organization. All of this is built with enterprise-grade security, privacy, and compliance to protect your data. Today, we're going to focus on how Copilot is the new UI for AI. I'm going to cover the first box, Business Chat, in Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's the new way to interact with your organization's content just by chatting. In September, we announced Copilot Pages. Pages are the new durable artifact that go with your chat. Maya will cover those. We also just announced Copilot Actions. They're the new way to automate personal workflows with Copilot, and Kevin will cover those. So let's start with Business Chat, the center of how you interact with Microsoft 365 Copilot. And whether you're new to Biz Chat or using it every day like I do, I hope you'll walk away from this session prepared to save time on business-critical work. So Biz Chat is where I start my day every day because Biz Chat integrates with my existing apps and data. It centers around the work I do while treating my data with the trust it deserves. You can access Biz Chat in the flow of your work, getting things done in the Microsoft 365 app, Teams, Outlook, both on the PC and mobile. And Biz Chat provides a one-stop shop to work with your organization's data. You can ask for answers, catch up with summaries. You can even create drafts. We're also extending it to help you learn with insights and execute tasks to get things done. The best part about working on Biz Chat is that we're always shipping improvements. We've been optimizing every layer of the stack. The client bits you find in the flow of your work, the latest models in the service backing it all, even the evaluation system we run in the background to make sure that every change is, in fact, an improvement. I spend most of my personal time reviewing your feedback so that we're focused on the most important changes. For example, you wanted it faster, so as we announced in the Wave 2 event in September, Biz Chat responses are now twice as fast as they were at launch. You wanted better responses, so now positive feedback per response has improved by nearly 3x. And you also requested a few new features. I'll demo some of them in core Biz Chat. Maya will demo more with Pages, and Kevin even more with Actions. So with that, let me dive right in. On my main laptop, this is the same computer I use every day. And as I mentioned before, you can access, well, I silenced all my you can access Copilot just one click away on Microsoft 365. In Teams, you just saw some of the chats there. It's in the chat tab there. And in Outlook, it's just one click away here in the left nav. I've made it one click away no matter where I am by pinning the website to my taskbar. So I have sort of an app-like experience for that website. So the experience looks familiar across all of those because we want to make it easy to use and easy to transition between places. But it also has some unique elements. For example, this Work web tab at the top. I'm going to walk through those unique elements because MEM 365 Copilot is grounded in your work. And so there are some specific elements to know about to take advantage of that. The first is this Work tab. I could switch it to Web to turn off all of the work grounding. But I leave it on the Work tab because that way it accesses my entire M365 suite of data, and it can search the web. Next to that, we've got the new chat button. I use that all the time because the richest conversations with Copilot are just that, conversations. Multi-turn, back and forth, refining, iterating, getting just the result I want. But that leads me to fill up a real topic. And so when I want to start a new topic and think about something new, I use new chat to clear that history. Next to that, we've got the trusted, familiar green shield. The green shield is what reminds me and our employees of the enterprise-grade privacy, security, and compliance commitments we offer when using BizChat. Back in the middle, you'll see 6 different suggestions. These rotate through based on your context, what you might need in that moment, and are personalized just to you. If those aren't what you're looking for and you want inspiration before you type something, we also have view prompts. And we just announced calling this the prompt gallery, which has many, many more prompts for you to be able to work on and learn how to ground your prompts in M365 data, like in people, files, meetings, topics, and more. We've also heard your feedback that you want to be able to save your prompts. You've been crafting your own prompts. And so we announced this morning that you can now do that directly in the app, save your prompts. And I've been using that for a while. And so I've saved some of my prompts here. And I'm going to go straight to this one, because this is the prompt that I did as soon as I heard I was going to be sharing the stage with Maya. I asked Copilot to teach me about Copilot Pages. Onboarding to new projects happens all the time, and new concepts keep coming out. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And so using Copilot is a great way to ramp up on those projects, because it can go and search not just the data that I know to look for. It can go and read through all those documents that I might have had to search and probe and scan through, and then it creates a nice brief for me to make sense of it. And that brief is personalized to what I want to learn. So for example, in this case, it knows I work on BizChat, and so it's telling me what's important to me working on that product. I also told it that I like to learn through analogies, and so it can create analogies to help me understand what pages might be. And finally, I'm leading part of the BizChat team, and so it's giving me follow-up questions I can use to drive my team's integration with Pages. So that was great. I felt prepared to share the stage. The next thing I wanted to do was prepare my bio to put on the Ignite website. But I didn't just want to write a bio from scratch. Microsoft 365 Graph already has lots of information that it could use to write my bio. So I'm going to rewrite a document in order to create that bio. And here's another feature that we just are releasing and rolling out, another way to help you write better prompts and reuse your existing prompts. As I typed rewrite, I get the autocomplete, including recommended prompts from our special curated set, as well as the history of my prompts. So for example, I'm going to tap this one, and I'm going to ground it in my latest resume. As soon as I type that out with the slash, it's searching through all of my content and showing me the file that it found that matched that query. I could similarly search for people, other files, even my meetings and emails, as well as lots of other content on M365. We've also heard a lot of feedback that people wanted to be able to upload content directly from their PC right into Copilot. And so we recently added that. You can upload here. as well as being able to browse your OneDrive or SharePoint files. And coming soon, you'll be able to ground your queries in Outlook folders or folders on SharePoint or SharePoint team sites so that you can scope it just to that. So here, for now, I'm going to select this file and send that along. We've adopted the latest models here, so you'll see how fast this can be, just pulling straight from that file and rewriting it for me. Other very popular rewrite scenarios are rewriting into other languages. In fact, I think you might see some of them here. You can rewrite into other languages, rewrite into code, which can be quite useful for, let's say Python to help you with some Excel work or Power Apps. So that's great. I felt like I'd done everything I needed to do. But then I got on the plane to come to Ignite and realized there's probably some more things I need to do to prepare to be here. And so, if I had an assistant, I might ask that assistant to give me a meeting brief for coming to Ignite. But I have Copilot, and so Copilot's going to go and do that for me. Again, I can edit these prompts as I might have wanted to change what I did before. And now it's going off and searching across all of my content to pull together that prep brief. Prepping for an individual meeting or an entire conference is a great use of Copilot to prepare you to do your best in those sessions. And so sure enough, it recognized I've got a breakout session that I'm doing right now. I also have a theater session tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. I hope to see you there. And then it identified specific action items for me based on all of the emails and chats that were coming at me telling me what to do to prepare. It even identifies related sessions, and you'll see here it's formatting them as a table, which is another great use of Copilot to organize your information into what you want it to be. It's including a bunch of additional resources. I use these on the plane to click through and get prepared. And you can see here it's got, I think, 11 citations. We've got a new view of all those citations, and so you can see here it's got files, documents, chats, meetings, and emails. So that's the kind of thing I might edit in a page because it's such a rich prep sheet. But I'm going to save that for Maya, who's going to be up here next. No demo of Copilot is complete without generating an image. And so I thought it would be fun to generate an image of all of us celebrating Copilot's first anniversary. So here I'm going to do that. Create an image of people at Microsoft Ignite. And then I said include some unicorns and robots just to make it a little extra fun. One thing you'll notice here is I'm creating this image on the Work tab. That's recently rolled out, that you can now create images here. So you can use it for things like marketing campaigns or social media campaigns where you want to generate images and keep them in your tenant's boundary before that big launch. I never quite know what to expect from these images. I'm hoping to see unicorns and robots. And sure enough, here we go. Let's see which one of these looks good. It's even got Ignite in the background. Let's zoom in on that one. Yeah, I see robots, I see unicorn, and I see unicorn robots. OK, that's a first. And with that, let me switch back to my slide. And if there's anything there that you saw and wanted to try, the good news is it switching back? OK. Trying to switch to my slides. Well, I'll tell you what's on that slide. We'll just try that again. If you want to try that, you can try that at home, even without an M365 Copilot license, because everything I showed that's grounded in the web is also available in Microsoft Copilot without the word 365. Slides now? OK, great. Thank you. So if you don't have Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can go to copilot.cloud.microsoft and try it, or scan that QR code and get the app. If you have an Entra account, It offers the same enterprise data protection as Microsoft 365 Copilot, along with the same experience designed for both work and education. So it gives you that access to AI-powered chat with responses grounded in the latest information from the web. So whether or not you have the license, please do give it a try. And with that, I'll hand it off to 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗷𝗫, who leads the Copilot Pages product team. Here's the clicker.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to share with you how we're continuing to evolve the way you can interact with Copilot in BizChat. Now, as Ned showed us, BizChat is great for both those unbounded explorations of any topic of interest, as well as those more targeted exchanges with Copilot to answer questions and complete simple tasks, all based on up-to-date information from the web and your organization's data. As LLMs are getting better and better, we're seeing more prompts where people are trying to create with Copilot. They may want to create a blog post for their feature or product launch, like many of us did right before Ignite. Or they may want to write a weekly status update for their project, or create a data analysis that combines both internal and external data. In all of these cases, they want to easily collect some of the responses from the chat and create a durable artifact with Copilot. They want to directly edit Copilot's output. They want to be able to continue to refine the content with Copilot. And then they want to be able to share it and collaborate with their teammates. Copilot Pages are that new AI artifact that's tailored for human to AI to human collaboration right in the flow of your work. So what can you do with Copilot Pages? There are 3 key things. First, Copilot Pages allow you to start with an intent, your goal, in BizChat, and then co-create, edit, and refine a durable artifact with Copilot to help you achieve that intent. Second, Copilot Pages support multiplayer collaboration between you, Copilot, and your team when you choose to share them with your teammates. And lastly, Copilot Pages are persisted in storage outside of the chat, so you can recall, share, and reuse them across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. Now, I'd like to share with you some common use cases of Pages and examples of how we've been using them on my team. Pages are great for collaboration and communication. For example, the PMs on my team have started to draft their feature specs in BizChat. They collaborate on a page with their feature crew and with Copilot. And Copilot helps them compose user scenarios, find relevant data to justify the feature, and to do a compete analysis. And when they're ready, they can share that page with their stakeholders in marketing and in legal to get their input as well. Pages can also be used to easily create content with Copilot. Last month, I onboarded a new team member. Copilot helped me compile company policy information, useful contacts, information on current projects, and an onboarding checklist right on a page. And this page ended up being extremely useful for our new hire. And I plan to reuse that page and update it before our interns arrive in the summer. Pages are also great for task management and organization. If you're working on a project, you can ask Copilot for the latest from your manager, and then have Copilot just turn that into a task list right on a page. And lastly, Pages can also help you solve problems. My team and I had been struggling on how to update our planning process to handle all the frequent incoming requests and new priorities. We created a page to brainstorm solutions with Copilot, and we were able to leverage best practices both from within Microsoft and the industry to help improve our process. As you can see, Pages are transforming the way we work and saving us a ton of time. Now, I'd like to dive into a demo to show you how Pages work in practice. you see this? All right. So I'm here on my machine, and I'm in the Microsoft365.com app. I'm in the Copilot module in the Work tab. Now imagine, just for today, that I'm a product manager in a global streetwear brand. And the end of the year is coming soon, and I need to start working on my strategy report for next quarter. So I'm going to ask Copilot to help me draft that report. And since we had a great meeting where we outlined the vision for next quarter, I'm going to ask it to base it on that meeting. All right, as soon as I send this off, Copilot's going to go off and look at the meeting transcript and the meeting notes and all the other relevant material within our organization's graph. And it's going to come back to me with this well-formatted output, as you can see here. Now, it's got all the sections I asked for, goals, market expansion, pricing updates, but I'm realizing that I'm missing a market research section. So I can ask Copilot for help to gather information from the web about global streetwear trends and purchasing patterns. Now, even though I'm in the Work tab, Copilot has access to both the information within my organization as well as on the web. And it's able to do that research for me. And as you can see, rather than returning a whole bunch of links that I then have to follow and read and digest, it just does that synthesis for me and returns this new market research section appended to the other result that I had before. Now, this is a really great start for my strategy report. I'm going to click the Edit in Pages button in order to persist it to a page. Now, as soon as I do that, a page is opened side by side to the chat. And this page is stored in my personal SharePoint embedded container, so I can access it later across the M365 ecosystem. Now, when a page is created, we also create this link and add it here to the chat, so you can always get back to it later. Now, there's one more thing that I need. I'd like to add the set of initiatives that we outlined in a white paper. In this white paper not too long ago. So rather than me combing through that document and creating this table, Copilot can do that for me within seconds. And as you can see, it returned this table for me. Now, just like previously, I can add this response to my report by clicking the Edit in Pages button. Now, the content on the page is fully editable, so I can make any changes I want. I can get rid of any content that I don't need. I'm going to add a heading here to my table. And I can also add columns to my table. So I'm going to add a column for drivers, so we can figure out who's going to drive each of these initiatives. And I'll add another column for impact. Later on, we'll be able to export this table to Excel, where we do all of our forecasting and impact estimations. So my strategy report now looks really good, and I'm ready to share it with some of my teammates. I'm going to go to the Share menu up here and choose the Copy Component option. As soon as I grab the link, I can head back over to Teams. And here, I'm going to paste the link in my chat with the other product leads. And as you can see, the link unfurls as a loop component. And once I send it to my teammates, they'll be able to collaborate with me on the page directly in Teams. Now I'll head back to BizChat. We've heard from some of our early customers that they're not sure how to get back to the pages that they create. So I'm going to tell you 2 ways that you can always do that. The first is by returning to the session where you created that page. Every session that has a page associated with it has this page icon at the top, and clicking that page that icon will reopen the page for you. Now, the other way is through the Pages module. This is a brand new module that we've introduced to M365 app in order to serve as that home for all of your Copilot pages. You can get to that module either by clicking this button in the breadcrumb or clicking on the Pages tab in the left rail. All right. Now here is our page in the Pages module. And I can continue to edit the page right here. So I'm going to change the title to Q1 Strategy Outline. All right. Now I can see up here through the avatars that my teammates have jumped in to collaborate with me on this document. As you can see here in the table, they are updating the drivers column, specifying names of people who can help us. Now there's one more thing I wanted to show you, but it looks like I might have to refresh my page in order to do that. All right. This last thing is an on-canvas Copilot experience right here in the Pages module. If you look here, I can see a new section was added about marketing tactics. When I click on the Copilot icon, I can see that Rebecca prompted Copilot asking it about marketing tactics based on industry best practices for streetwear. Now, this is really great information, but I want to ask Copilot to reformat it for me as a table, so it'll be a little bit easier to consume. Now, we call this experience collaborative prompting because multiple people can be collaborating with Copilot together. And we keep a history of all the prompts, so you can always go back to a previous version. Now, I hope this example helped you see how Copilot can start to feel like a collaborative teammate. And in this case, it helped us generate this strategy report in a fraction of the time that it would otherwise take us. OK. So since releasing Pages early last month, they've been available in the BizChat Work tab. And when we announced Copilot Pages, we promised to make them available in more places. And I'm excited to announce that they are now rolling out to the BizChat Web tab, as well as to the free Microsoft Copilot service for all users who are signed in with their Entra ID. So very, very soon, you will all have access to Pages. According to my engineers, that might even be by the end of this week, but we didn't say that. OK, so now let's shift gears and talk about the next set of capabilities that we're bringing to the BizChat and Pages experience. We are going to be introducing rich artifacts. Now, you may have caught a sneak preview of this in Satya's keynote this morning. These are interactive content types in BizChat responses that you can persist into a page and then edit, share, and collaborate on. They include the following: code blocks to help you create technical designs, architectural explorations, and code documentation. Interactive charts where Copilot will synthesize across data sources and then do the calculation and analysis to help you visualize your data in the most compelling way. Tables to structure your information and then allow you to sort and filter to help you focus on what matters most. And lastly, mermaid diagrams to illustrate flow charts, business processes, or technical architecture diagrams. With these rich artifacts, we're bringing more of M365's capabilities right to your fingertips in BizChat. Now, you can transform these rich artifacts in the chat to a durable page when you want to persist them, either by creating a new page or by adding them to one of your existing pages. So we're going to take a look at this quick video to see how this will work. Now, recall the strategy report that I was just working on. Now I want to add some supporting data to it. I'm going to ask Copilot to give me a breakdown of sales for the 10 lowest performing stores in North America based on our sales data from the last 3 months. Now, Copilot is going to do some data crunching, merge that data with other data that we have in the graph, and then return this beautiful interactive chart for me. Now, I want to add this chart to my strategy report. So rather than creating a new page, I'm going to select my strategy report from this page picker. And once it's on the page, I can filter the chart and remove some of the product lines that are not that important to my message. Once the chart looks good, I can continue to update the page with some ideas that I have for strategic investments in Q1. Lastly, I want to show you 2 new capabilities that we'll be bringing in the new year to help you refine your pages. The first one is through the chat itself. With page grounding, the chat will be fully aware of everything that's happening on the page, so you'll be able to continue to use the chat to update your page. And the second is through an on-canvas Copilot experience, where you'll be able to prompt Copilot directly on the page. This is the same experience that I just showed you, where Rebecca and I were both prompting Copilot on the page in the Pages module. We'll be bringing that experience to the side-by-side experience in BizChat. Now let's take a look at a couple examples of how this will work. So I'm happy with this list of strategic investments, but I think I need Copilot's help to make it sound a little more polished. I can do that by selecting the content and prompting the Copilot on the page, asking for help to adjust the tone. Now Copilot will rewrite the content, and rather than committing the changes, it will ask me if I want to keep them. Now the last thing I need for my strategy report is an exec summary. I can go to the chat and ask Copilot to create that exec summary for me. And since it's aware of everything that's on the page, it can create this exec summary for me, and again, ask me if I want to keep it. These new capabilities that we're bringing in the new year will reinforce that connection between the chat and the page, and will transform the way that you work and create artifacts with Copilot and your team. Now, we've seen how pages work. We've seen some new features that are coming soon. I want to wrap up by telling you a little bit about how you can manage pages in your organization. First off, pages are just .loop files, so you can manage them like your docs and PDFs and all your other files. They'll surface in search results across the M365 ecosystem, and they'll appear in your recents list as well as the Pages module in the M365 app. And if you're a Loop user, they'll also appear in the recents list in the Loop app. Pages can be shared, and you can set permissions to them just like on any other file. Pages, like all Loop pages, support admin toggles, GDPR and EUDB compliance, Intune device management, conditional access policies, version history, e-discovery, retention policies, sensitivity labels, and much more. Now, pages are stored in a user-owned SharePoint embedded container that you can manage much like a user's OneDrive. We have some great documentation for you about that we will share at the end of the session. And lastly, as I mentioned before, pages are already available in the BizChat Work tab. They're now coming to the BizChat Web tab, as well as to the free Microsoft Copilot service for those users who are signed in with their Entra ID. I can't wait for all of you to start using Pages, and I encourage you to send us your feedback. Thank you. I'm going to hand it off to Kevin, who will tell us about Copilot Actions.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maya. So taking a quick step back, what have we talked about so far? Well, Ned spent a few minutes talking about Business Chat and the continued value we're adding to connect all of the richness of the Microsoft 365 graph with the latest large language models. To that, Maya added Pages, which says, what if we take that same prompt and response interaction that happens in Business Chat, and instead of using that in support of other workflows, what if that is the workflow itself with Microsoft or with Copilot Pages? With Copilot Actions, we're taking it one step further. We're saying, what if we surround that Copilot capability with broader capabilities to create a workflow based off of it? Before diving into that, I want to take a bigger step back and think about the last 2 years. So as we've been thinking about generative AI ever since about fall of 2022, one word has been coming to the front more than almost anything else, and that's the concept of the prompt. And it's for good reason. prompts are still the best way to get the most value out of most generative AI products, Copilot included. And to that end, to those who are here in person, I highly recommend finding some time this week to visit the Hub. We've got a whole section about the art of prompting, which will help you learn how to prompt better yourself, and also give you some ideas to take back to your organizations to help drive better prompting in your organization. But with prompts, we also have some challenges because they can be limiting. One of the things, and I'm sure you felt this, is they create cognitive overload. You're doing your work, you want an answer, you go to BizChat, and now you've got to switch your mindset, like, oh, now I've got to figure out how to write this prompt. Some people have described it as learning a new language. I was thinking about it, and to me, it's almost more than that. It's almost like you were dropped in a foreign country where you didn't speak the language, and they just sent you right to the middle of a big market, and you didn't even know what they sold there. Because not only do you need to know the language, you need to know the value, you need to know the capabilities of what you can do, and all of that is creating this cognitive overload when you use Business Chat or any other generative AI product. The second challenge is context switching. So one of the things that Business Chat is really good at is staying on top of your to-do list. So at the end of every day, I'll go and I'll say, hey, what did people ask me to do today? Business Chat will respond. I'll say, I remembered most of those. There's a few I forgot. Great, I'm glad I did that. To do that, I've got to switch out of my context that I'm working on, go into the prompt box, write my prompt, and get the response. Lastly, if we're thinking and talking about the prompt itself, we're kind of missing the bigger picture. And by that, I was thinking about this, and if you think about Excel, and when Microsoft first launched Excel, it would be like we said, hey, great, we now have a digital calculator. You want to know how to do 2 + 2? You don't need to use your calculator anymore. Just go to Excel and type in 2 + 2, and you'll get your answer. But the reality is we know Excel can do so much more. It can reinvent financial planning and financial research and all of these other capabilities because we're thinking about the broader picture as opposed to just one task. So each of these concepts really underlie the thinking behind Copilot Actions. And to address that, we've built 3 different capabilities within Copilot Actions. One is the idea of pre-built templates. We've looked at the types of things that users do every day and that they want to get from Copilot, looked at the things that Copilot can do uniquely well, and created these templates that users can customize but not have to write a prompt. So we're just leading them to value, massively helpful, especially for new users. The second is passive behaviors. We've given Copilot the ability to do things on our behalf without us having to ask. I no longer have to go and tap my assistant every time I want him or her to do something. It does it for me. I can set a recurring prompt to say, hey, every day, that example I gave before, look for my to-do list or look for my action items that day, but do that on my behalf without me asking. And not just that, send it to me in Teams where I'm already working. Third is this idea of end-to-end processes. So we smash Copilot in the middle of these broader processes. Example of that. Let's say I host a meeting with my team every Friday. The whole point of that meeting is to make it as useful for everyone in my team as possible. So what did I do? Before Copilot, 5 minutes before the meeting, we're like, oh man, what do people want to know about? And I would do my best. With Business Chat, I can now write a prompt. And I can say, based on interactions with people on my team, what's likely a hot topic for this week's meeting? Still good, but let's kind of focus on the task. I've got to figure out what to do, and it's the last minute. If I really want to make the meeting better, I should go out and ask them, which is a novel idea, if I could only remember. So with Copilot Actions, I can set it up so that every week on Monday morning, Copilot on my behalf sends a Teams message to each person on my team saying, hey, submit ideas for the weekly team meeting. Some people respond, some don't, so those people get a follow-up. By Thursday, Copilot has taken all of those responses, synthesized them, and summarized them. So now I've got a complete summarized list of what people want to hear about, and I can have a better meeting. So with that context, let me switch to a quick demo to show you what this looks like. So the first thing you'll see is that we're, again, in the Microsoft 365 app. And I was talking to some of you in the hub earlier today. You'll start to see this pattern that we're bringing more and more Copilot value to the Microsoft 365 app. A lot of these new capabilities that we're creating in the name of Copilot, you'll find here, including Business Chat up here, Pages down here, and now Actions. So if I click on Discover, this is the list of the pre-built templates that we're starting out with. To give you an idea of what we can do here, first, you'll see, let me zoom in real quickly, summarize communications and highlight action items. I've given this example a bunch already. If you scroll down a little bit, we can say this one I love, request feedback on a document. I created a Word document, and I want to get people to give feedback. So I can create an action that says reach out to these people, ask for their feedback, remind them if they haven't given it to them, and then by the deadline, just send me a summary of what they said in addition to the raw data. And lastly, this one I love, we can have it create a customer brief. What's enabling this is a new concept that I haven't talked about in a trigger. So instead of setting a time-based recurrence, I could have Copilot aware of my calendar. And I could say every day I have a meeting with this customer on my calendar, send me a brief that morning. Or if I'm meeting with my manager or somebody on my team, I could say every time I've got a meeting later this day with this person, send me an update on the last week's conversations I've had with them so I'm better prepared. I am going to click on this one, gather information updates for a weekly newsletter. Here you'll see this is the template. Underlying this is a big meta prompt with a lot of really good information to surface the results and the results in a way that will be useful for you. Users can then just click and select who they want to include. So I'll include Daniel, I'll include Marlene because they're here in person, I'll include Theresa. I can update this to what I said, update for the weekly newsletter. I can set a time when I need it by, and then I'll see the preview. This will send it on my behalf, so I'm going to make it a little less formal. Hey, guys, newsletter time. Please send updates for the weekly newsletter. If I hit create, it's going to go and then send that prompt request to them. They're going to respond and get back to me. I'm going to quickly show you the results of a very different one. I've used this example a lot already, but this is my daily action items. So you'll see two things. One, this is showing up in Outlook. I've requested it to send me an Outlook every day because I spend a lot of time in Outlook. Two, this is within a page. So you get the same dynamic capabilities that Maya was just talking about as the result of this prompt, which means I can use this as my to-do list. Let's say I did that one, and I did that one. Let's say that one's not relevant. I can cross it off. So now I've got the ability to co-work and collaborate with Copilot where it's finding my action items, I'm editing them, and I'm using that as my go-forward task management. So let us go back to the deck. Real quickly, what did we talk about? A few different ways that we can use actions. One is we can send it out to request and capture information on our behalf. Two is we can set a recurrence. From a daily habit standpoint, this is huge. I no longer need to remember to go to Copilot. It's doing it for me, combined with number three in the format that I want. It's sending me a Teams message every day so I don't have to go out of my way, leave my context. Instead, it's right there in the context in which I'm working. For the triggers, I gave a couple examples of this, where we can trigger not based on the calendar on a regular recurrent basis, but based on the activity in the graph. And five, this is kind of the opposite of what I said before. What if you use Business Chat a lot, and there's a prompt you love, and you want to run that same thing every single day or every week or every month, and you want to have the response sent to you in a certain location? Well, you can use custom prompts as well. Lastly, we now have yet another way to drive AI automation for individuals in the workplace. We've got actions. We've got agents. We've got M365 workflows. All of these are ways that we can set up M365 and Copilot to work on our behalf, which is great. The downside is it begs the question, is this going to spin out of control? How do I remember which automations are working on my behalf? How do I get one broad view of them? This is your place. There's a management tab within that module where you can go and see all of the agents and all of the actions that you have running in the background, and you can pause them, you can start them, delete them, et cetera. So in closing, when I think about Copilot, I think of it as working in two ways. You've got Copilot in the apps, in Word and Outlook and Teams and Excel, which are helping you work better in the same ways you've always worked. But now you've got these new ways of working. We introduced Business Chat back in March of last year. Then we introduced Pages a couple months ago. Now we introduced Actions, which are these apps and capabilities and features that have been built in the name of Copilot and AI to take the best of what Copilot and AI can do and serve it up to users to be able to go forward. So with that, I encourage you to take a look at this. Two things. One, there's a QR code. Look at that. Great resources that go much deeper into everything we've discussed. Two, there's some great sessions in there that are highly related to this. Ned mentioned tomorrow morning, 11:15, he's got a theater session talking about Biz Chat. We've got tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock about adoption and measurement is another breakout that I highly recommend. Thursday morning at 9:45, that's about extending Business Chat with third-party data via connectors. We've got a Pages session, or Pages Theater session with Manon tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. And lastly, a couple great sessions on Friday as well. So highly, highly encourage you to attend those, read the content, visit us in the hub. And lastly, just like what we do with the product, leave feedback. We promise we look at every piece of feedback that comes through the product. Also, leave feedback here so we can continue to make this better for you as well. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your week.